Hello, how is everyone? I am so excited to invite you to our How to Heal Naturally New Year, New Life show. And we have an incredible guest today. This is a couple that I am so inspired by. Not only do they live their life, body, soul, mind, and spirit, but they actually have created a life for their entire family. And what I love most about them is their journey and how they're able to come together collectively to really put out into the world the calling and giftings that God has called them to do. And this is Stacy and Markus Naugle. Nigel, I know we just went over this last name. Let's all say it together here. What is it again, Stacy?
Naugle.
Naugle. But you know what that means? They were just sharing in German, right? It means nail. And I think about this with this couple because they are very solid. Like once you actually adhere to what they're going to share, it is a solid foundation. Like it is like nailing it in. It's like if you had any question before, they will confirm it to you that yes, because what you put out is what you attract, right? And what you're seeking is seeking you. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having us.
This is so great. So first of all, I want to know because, I love couples, right, that are energetically on the same plane. Now, just to kind of go in just into that, because I know my audience is like, there's a lot of singles out there looking for their match, like their energetic match, because they have like a spiritual calling. Was this something that both of you all grew together when you all met, or were you both just on your own journey and the universe brought you together?
We were
Yes.
both, yeah. We were on our own journeys already. Both of us valued high performance, health, longevity, searching for truth, the simplicity of truth and the complexity of life. We were both doing that. We're sort of cut from the same cloth that way, I think. But we took different paths. And when we met, we were instant friends.
I love that.
We're both scientists and both seekers. And I think, we're looking for the answers and we're looking for the truth. And we're all on a spiritual journey at some point in the path. And Stacy and I have had a interwoven life for decades. And so that's been a wonderful part of it. And the Your Vegan Family High Performance Health Coaching is kind of a natural extension of who we both are and the similarities and the common goals that we share together.
I love that. So tell us a little bit about how you started in this journey, like just with yourself personally. Did you all grow up into this environment, or was there just a shift that happened that you remember?
For me, a big focus of what we talk about or what we do is diet. And I was very blessed to grow up with two wonderful parents and two younger sisters, both of whom live in North Carolina now. And my mom was she was an elementary school teacher, and she cooked all of our meals after working, all day long. And we always had a protein source. We always kind of had a starch or carbohydrate. We had vegetables. We had a garden out back. We had a peach tree. She often made our own pasta sauces and peach preserves. And, we would go occasionally out to the farm and see the cow that then became little white wrappers in the deep chest freezer in the basement that said T-bone and rump roast and sirloin and all the rest of it. And so I grew up with a consciousness around food that's very different from the consciousness I have now, but an appreciation about eating a well-rounded diet, knowing where your food comes from. I also grew up in Western Pennsylvania near the Amish Dutch. And so, they would come into the town and sell their eggs and their milk. And you would often see roadside stands where, especially in August, they would be selling corn. And so it was easy to see where your food came from.
Yeah.
And it was an essential part of what created family for, my nuclear, my blood family. When I got to college, I had a friend in college, and I went to a very technical school who at one point, I think it was in my sophomore, junior year, this is the mid-1980s, he said, I'm going to cut red meat out of my diet and, kind of see what it does. We're going to do an experiment. Here's some scientists doing an experiment on themselves. So I said, well, I'll do it with you. And we didn't eat any red meat for a month or 2 months. And I'm not sure that I noticed.
So Marcus, I just have a question. So when you thought of that, like this, what, this red meat, because this is a huge topic as a nutritionist, right? A holistic nutritionist, like for my clients, you know what I mean? And even just for our audience here, like when you heard of this other person doing it, obviously they were an influencer in your life. How did you decide, especially as a man, right? You look fit, like you're, protein, all the things. How did you, like, was it something that you felt in your soul? Was it something you had been thinking about? Or was it purely like, let's just really see if this is real? I mean, for you personally.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of all of that, really. Honestly, I was a molecular biologist in a highly scientific school, and so of course, we were data driven.
Yeah.
There was consciousness around, red meat at that point, and some of the challenges around red meat. The World Health Organization hadn't come out and labeled it a Category 1A carcinogen yet, for processed red meat in particular, but there was still, I think, turkey sausages and chicken sausages and kind of, there was consciousness around meat and what meat could or might not do for your diet as well. And so seeing how that would react for me, and I was a college athlete, and I've spent most of my life trying to find the edges of my being, whether those are intellectual or mental edges, or whether those are physical, and climbing 20,000-foot mountains and scuba diving around the world, and knowing what my physical limits are and what my physical capabilities are. Diet is a natural thing to explore, and all of that, to see if you might be able to find some advantages in your being and in your performance. And so, as a college athlete, it was an interesting experiment to say, well, okay, well, if I do take red meat out of my diet, is it going to give me more energy? Am I going to lose muscle mass? I played American football. What is it going to do to me? And I didn't, I eliminated it for a couple of months, and I'm not sure that I saw radical changes in myself. I still had a super high energy level. I've always had a high energy level. I always have had a consciousness around food and eating reasonably well. But that was kind of the beginning of saying, okay, well, now that I'm in charge of my diet, my mom's not in charge of my diet anymore. Yeah. I'm in charge of my diet. What choices do I want to make? And if I make different choices, how is my physical, mental, and emotional body going to respond?
Yeah.
And so for the next kind of 4 or 5 years, I, basically went from cutting out red meat to cutting out poultry to being a pescatarian. I was fortunate to live in San Francisco, in some places where seafood was abundant and readily available. So it was easy just to eat seafood as my main protein source for a while. And then I think when I was about 30 years ago now, I completely went vegan, and I've never looked back. I've never missed meat. I've never missed cheese. I've never missed anything.
Right.
In fact, some of the new protein sources and substitution burgers that they have remind me more of cat food than they do of, and they're not things that I can eat. And so I've eaten a whole food, plant-based diet for almost 30 years now. And it, like I said, has fueled me up to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. I've worked on a dive boat in the Great Barrier Reef and been down to 150 feet below the sea. And, I've never been limited physically. I've never been limited emotionally or intellectually from doing the things that I want to do. And so it started out as a grand experiment for me. And we have 2 young boys that are 13 and 9, and they've been vegan since plant-based since conception.
It's amazing.
Not only have this.
So you started this lifestyle then in your early 20s. So,
yes.
So Stacy, did you know Marcus then?
No, not at that time.
So with your journey, were you walking this path those younger years as well, or did it come later with you?
Well, I studied science in college as well, and I ended up with my master's degree in East Asian medicine, and nutrition was a part of that. So, it was the mid 90s, and I was using Asian medicine, Western science with my clients. And I, like Marcus, I was always looking for, like, what's my capacity? Where's my edge? How far can I go? What am I capable of? And so finding ways that kept me feeling really great were important, because I was doing that same thing for my clients. And honestly, clients would come in, they would read a book and say, what do you think about this diet? What about the blood type diet? What about this and that?
Yes.
So read the book, and then I'd experiment for a month. And so, like Markus, I was very curious about experimenting in my own body, collecting data and being able to share that. And I didn't come around to being entirely vegan as early as Markus did. He was a great inspiration that way. It was very fun getting to know him and having some dinners where, okay, it's got to be plant-based. What fun is this? Another challenge.
Yeah, I love that.
We had numerous friends who were plant-based. So it was great, and it was fun, and it was an experiment, and it just worked so well for my body. I did not need meat. And like Markus, we grew up with a cow in the field that would then be in the freezer, and I'd be sad missing my friend.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I know I grew up in Maine, and we had this pet pig, and we named him Lollipop. And then all of a sudden, like, Lollipop was like in front of us, and my parents just, I mean, they were like reading Lollipop. And I just remember feeling like it's my like lollipop, like it's just right, like it doesn't make sense as a kid, but we just kind of like learned, like in society, like just to kind of shut that part off of our brain, you know.
Yeah.
So that's really, so Stacy, you were already in the healing space energetically, but Markus, was your job in the same holistic realm at the time?
I'm not a career guy. I've done lots of different things, but in the first decade of my life, I was a management consultant to the biotechnology industry. So I looked at biotherapeutics, new proteins, all of which were used for diagnostic or therapeutic purposes within the human body. And so I studied medicines. I studied the human body. I think at one point I thought I was going to be a doctor in college. I'm a certified yoga instructor. I'm a transcendental meditator. I've worked in the EMT field as a firefighter and an EMT. So I've run 911 calls for all kinds of health problems. And so my relationship to health and to the human body is one that has been diverse. And has helped me, really just have a breadth of experience that's informed the choices that I make for myself, and certainly the choices and the recommendations and the strategies that we develop for the clients that we work with.
I love that. So, okay, so when you all came together, did you all know that this was going to be a collective purpose that you were going to offer the world? The work that you do with, your foods?
It's a good question. I think that,
we didn't initially.
We're soulmates, and I think that we're connected in ways that I'm not sure that I could even describe with the simple words that we have in the English language. And I know that for us, with our family, with our boys, the more ways that we can develop relationship together teaches us more about ourselves individually, but about us collectively as a unit and as a team. And I think that while we perhaps, when we got together, didn't necessarily know this was the direction that we were going, I think we knew we wanted to be together as much as possible. And so there are few days that I can think of in years that we've been apart, and that's the way that we've chosen to develop our relationship. And it's been a wonderful journey for us collectively as a couple, and also, individually within that journey as well. She's a very powerful mirror for me to see my issues and my things, and what I'm working on and what's important. And so I think that desire, or that constant draw towards learning more about ourselves and incorporating as many pieces as we can was a big motivational factor for me in creating a collective profession or work-oriented activity together.
I love that. I love that. So audience, I just want you to take a step back and start looking at yourself, because if this is resonating with you, because they're actually going to be going into sharing, they have two sons that they have raised in this environment, and they actually moved, to even curate this calling that they have been able to give out into the world. And so if this is something that interests you, we'll get all of their contact information underneath. But also too, there's a lot of couples out there, or a lot of you single ones out there, that are looking for someone who has the same energetic match, because food's a big deal. Wouldn't you all say food's a big deal? And so if two people are eating very differently, it can cause the synergy to be like not in alignment as you want. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So Stacy, how did you both decide to raise your sons in this type of, eating?
There was no question, really. It's how we eat, and we research all the time. We're always sifting through scientific articles. He's always scanning the news to see what references are coming up, and then we go and verify them or not.
Okay.
And we want to give our children the best chance that they have to develop and become their best selves. We want them to optimize their potential in every way. It's why we've given them such a diverse upbringing. We want to give them opportunities to discover who they are and become their best. And from everything that we know and everything that we've researched from the East and the West, this is the path that we feel is best for most people, and it works really well for them. They love it. They love the food. They love sharing the food with their friends. They eat everything.
Yeah.
They're super eaters. We love sharing it with them. They're curious. They like to participate, and it's a joyful part of bringing our family together around health and self-nourishment. And so sharing that helps us build a legacy of health for them, and hopefully, their families and generations going forward as well.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. That is so good. I know I was sharing with Stacy earlier that my best friend, she has two twin boys, and they're like boys, you know what I mean? And she's raising them as a single mom, vegan. And we're over here in the South, in North Carolina, in America, and we're like the fried chicken, all of that, the biscuits. Well, you all know, because you've been here to Wilmington, you all, it's very Southern, right? And but she's been able to do it. She's been able to do it. And I thought, like, even birthday parties, she just brings the vegan cupcakes. Like, now I'm getting better at finding recipes that actually work, you know what I mean, with the whole vegan life. And even this past, the other night over the weekend, I had a girls' night here, and I was doing like a taco night. And I thought, well, I know she's coming, and I have other vegan friends. And so after talking to you, Stacy, I was like, I'll just do all vegan tacos. And I did the walnut meat. And I was like, it was so good. Like, I've never done that before. Like, I've never actually made an entire, usually I'll have like all different ones, but I had like the cheese, and it really is true how delicious a lot of these are, and how full of nutrients and the proper minerals and vitamins that people really can get just through that, having that. So Markus, so you all actually ended up moving. Can you tell us a little bit about how you chose to move the entire family to where you are right now?
Yeah, well, we're avid world travelers to begin with. We love to travel, and we love to explore, especially nature. And so, if you want to see bleeding heart baboons, you have to go to Ethiopia. There's just certain places you have to go to see certain animals. But we also like the two-legged animals too. And when we study, or when you look at, many people might be aware of the blue zones that exist now, that were a Netflix special and have become a bit more popular. But if you look at around the planet, for the people that regularly live to be about 100 years old, without a compromise, or with high quality of life, I should say, there's five places on the planet: Okinawa, Japan; Icaria, Greece; Sardinia, Italy; the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica; and Loma Linda, California. And this study started in the 70s with some Harvard scientists, and it's evolved from there. But one of the places that used to be on the list or was on the early list was Vilcabamba, Ecuador. And so they subsequently have gone back and looked at whatever birth certificates they could find and found that the average age of people there wasn't, 103. It was really 97.2, or I'm making up numbers metaphorically. But we moved to Vilcabamba, Ecuador with our kids to learn more about, how did the Incans eat? How did the people here eat? And what were the key success factors that provided their longevity and their high quality of life? And both of our boys were actually born in Guatemala and lived there for the early 3 or 4 years of their lives. So they've lived outside of the United States. And I think that, as Stacy said earlier, we're very interested in what limited time we have with them, assuming they go off and do their own thing at some point. We want to give them as many diverse experiences as we possibly can. And I think for them, one of the things that I wish I was or is bilingual, because I think it's very important for us to be able to communicate with as many people as possible and be able to communicate effectively. So moving here for them to be in Spanish immersion, for us to learn more about food and key success factors around longevity. And Ecuador is quite possibly the most biodiverse country on the planet. We've got the Galapagos Islands, which are unique. We've got beaches. We live in the Andes Mountains here at about 9,000 feet, and we can just nip over to the other side and go into the Amazon, which the boys think they want to move to the Amazon.
I love that.
There are
You have little
amazing
Tarzans over there.
Yeah.
So we up and moved to Ecuador, a little over a year and a half ago.
I love that. I had no idea, because I have quite a few people from the Blue Zone, but more like Costa Rica, on my shows. But I had no idea that Ecuador actually was known for that same vibe over there. Like, I love that. I just think that that's so incredible that it's like you even shifted your entire environment, and both of you all were in alignment to actually doing that. So it's not just eating the same, but moving and going to Ecuador and like creating the life over there. I love that, because I always think, we have one shot at this life, right? So why not we just be so in tune with ourselves of the direction we're supposed to go in, and just live the fullness of it, like not just survive, but actually thrive in our calling. That's so good. Okay, so all right, so the micro habits for high achievers. I love that. So how did all of that evolve? This is like your lifestyle, and I know both of you are already in the wellness space and all of that, but how did this all evolve? And can you share with our audience exactly what it is?
Yeah, the Micro Habits for High Achievers is a mini course that we developed because we like to work with entrepreneurs and professionals who are busy. And if they are parents and have children, bonus with the complexity, because you already know that we like a challenge. we like to find our edges. And people who run their own businesses and have their own families, they don't have a lot of time. They don't have time to figure it all out. They may not be able to go to the gym for an hour and a half and then get a massage. They're busy. And so one of the things that we try to share with people is that they can improve their health and their performance in small bites. They don't have to take an hour and a half off work to go do X, Y, or Z, that they can incorporate it throughout their day. And it not only helps them feel better, it helps them be more productive as well.
Yeah.
And ideally, then they go home in the evening and they're not wiped out when they get home. They've got energy for their family. They've got energy and inspiration to make some delicious meals. And so that not only are they making great strides in their work success, but they are achieving that elusive and often ignored, because it's hard to achieve, work-life balance.
I love
and
that.
we really would love people to be able to experience life similarly to how we do, to have energy, to have focus, to have drive, to take care of our family, to be able to spend time together. And not feel like you're driving yourselves into the ground to be able to do it.
I love that. That is so amazing. I know. And I feel like people need to hear that, because I feel like when they're not familiar with this kind of culture, right, it can feel like overwhelming, and it's almost like all or nothing. And so when you all talk about micronutrients, I love the way that you just explained it too, that, just kind of tiptoe into it and then just see, and then having you all there is a couple that can guide. It makes it like not as scary. Or if someone feels alone on their journey, they're not surrounded by people that might have the same mindset, but they're drawn to it. It's like, listen, like that's what I love so much about like Zooms and just everyone from all over the world, because it brings the space to like zero, you know what I mean? And I love that people can do that. Now, where can our audience find you all? Like we'll have the contact information underneath, but how can they find you?
Well, we are across social media. Our website is Your Vegan Family. And you don't have to be vegan to work with us. We meet you where you are and we can help you get where you want to go. But we know that 99% of at least US Americans need to eat more fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
Like we need more plants in our diet. So eat more plants is really our motto. So Your Vegan Family is our website. But we are also on LinkedIn, both of us individually, and we are on Facebook individually. So it's easy to find us. Just look at Stacy Naugle. He's only on LinkedIn. He's not a social media person. Bless him. He's just
bless her.
Yeah. Most guys, they're like, they leave that to us, right? Like they're like, you guys got that. No, I love that. No, it's so good. So Markus, where do you see this going? I love this that you all have and what you have to offer. So where do you see this movement going that you all have put together?
I hope it's wildly successful because, a big part of the reason that we do this is not only personal health, but it's planetary health. And we're in a very fragile state on planet Earth right now. We love nature. We love whale sharks. We love, we love mountains and we love rivers. And, every time I see a new swatch of the Brazilian rainforest cut down that are literally the lungs of planet Earth that are creating all the oxygen or a big part of the oxygen that we're breathing, it's painful. And so I think that, what goal do we want? Well, I think the goal really is to save ourselves. And it sounds a little melodramatic, but, we're at a very critical time on planet Earth where the population has reached a very high number and, the climate is unpredictable, and there are consequences. And those consequences are going to be borne by all of us, but most especially by the young people. And so I think we feel a very strong responsibility, and it's why our boys are so involved with us in everything that we do to try to leave the place a little bit better than we inherited it. And I think that our diet is a very powerful way that we can do that. David Attenborough, who, he's 97 years old now, and he's done documentaries of planet Earth. He's probably seen more animals and more places on planet Earth than, probably 4 billion people put together. And in his latest documentaries that he has, that are documenting the degradation, but also documenting what remains in our natural world. I mean, he ends his documentaries with basically saying, with 8 billion people on the planet, we cannot afford to continue to have a meat-centric diet. It's just not possible. And so he's a very, he's an educated man. He's a scientist, and he's seen the world. And, I think about Michael Pollan too, if I were going to try to summarize why we do what we do and what's the best way to do it. He's another Harvard person that's looked at diet, looked at the social consequences of it. And he summarized it more eloquently than I ever could, more tersely than I ever could, and eat food, not too much, mostly plant. And if you look at the spiritual leaders on our planet, if you look at the people that have lived the longest, 100, 110, 120 years old, if you look at the people that, are most enlightened in some ways, they're never obese. They always pay attention to what they eat, and they eat as many plants as they possibly can. And they think science is proving that out more and more and more to the point that it's irrefutable. It's really irrefutable. And our food supplies, as they become more and more processed, and we're looking for ways to try to feed 8 billion people, we've really become, we've really created a very fragile time here for the planet and for ourselves as well. So I'm hoping that we can be wildly successful with what we do and inspiring others to improve their personal health, or at least develop a new relationship with their personal health, one where they're willing to explore and experiment, and recognizing that the choices that you make for your personal health also have a great effect for all of us and for planetary health as well.
Mm. No, that's great. No, I love that. I love that. And I love that you both are in a place where you can meet people where they're at, like a lot, a lot of my clients just over here in this part of the Western world, like we're just trying to get them to drink water and get off of Diet Coke. You know what I'm saying? And so I just love that you all are like, you can like inch along, you know what I mean? Like, we're not like just throwing you into this well over here, like we'll hold your hand through it, but know that you can do it, and it will be great for you. And these are the reasons why, because a lot of times you all can explain it so effortlessly where someone can actually grab a hold of it, because I have interviewed a ton, but I love the way that you all explain it, because the average person can grab a hold of what you're saying without all this other terminology that seems so foreign and also like intimidating, right? So I love that. I love that so much. So okay, before we close, can you all just give us a few nuggets of what someone can do now? I know you all have a free offer as well, but to leave our audience, are there some nuggets you can leave our audience as they are moving through their day, if they are really looking into making a lifestyle change and really just embracing the vegan world? Well, what are a few things that they can do the here and now, like actually starting today, that might help them on their journey?
Well, I would like to start by saying that health is a transformative journey. If somebody say they want to lose 30 pounds, they can go on a diet or a fast or whatever it is, and they can drop that 30 pounds. But if they are the same person at the end that they were at the beginning, they're not going to sustain it. We have to change. And there is no transformational trigger like diet and lifestyle.
Yes.
To, when you're trying to eat a healthy diet and you run into that place where you're like, oh my God, I have to have a cookie. I just, whatever it is. That's the point where transformation is possible. That's the point where subconscious beliefs, and I know that you're a pro on this, subconscious beliefs rise up. That's that inner rebel, the self-saboteur that comes up and says, hey, no, we're going to have a battle about this, the will and some unknown, mysterious, deep belief. And that's the transformation point. And that's what we love to guide people through. So I would say, for my part, that if you are moving towards a healthier lifestyle and you run into that inner rebel, you run into that self-sabotage part, take a breath, stop, and look for what's really going on here. Honor it, absolutely. What do you need to shift in order to become the person that is living the life with the level of health that you want? Because ultimately, that's the work. What you eat, what you do, all falls into line as you become the person that you envision. And so that's my piece. Pause, take a breath, look inside, get really clear on who you want to be, and let that be a moment of insight and personal growth for you. And I
That's so good.
You've got some good ideas here.
I love that you shared that. That is really powerful. I love that. And really, because what it does is it makes you conscious in that moment. And it also gives you license to be like, being aware, right? The first step is just being aware and taking that shift. Markus, what's something you'd like to share with our audience as we close today?
Well, to piggyback on what she said, and also what you mentioned a little earlier on as well, this is a long game. It's not a short game. You can get a short-term benefit, a month or 2 months, and you can achieve a certain health goal, whether that's weight loss or whether that's, but to really transform and create new habits that then create your new sense of being, your new way of being. It's something that you have to do repetitively over time. It has to become a habit that then becomes a part of your character, that becomes a part of your personality and who you really are. And I think that we spend a lot of time in our house, because family is so important to us, thanks mom and dad, saying life is a team sport. And they think so much of when we want to try to create and inspire transformation within ourselves, we need to remember that life is a team sport. And I'm amazingly blessed to have such a wonderful wife and to have wonderful kids that are amazing mirrors for me personally and for us for what we do collectively together every single day. But you don't have to have that. You know, it can be good friends. It can be your neighbor. It can be the person that you see at the grocery store, you know, or other places that you go repetitively throughout your life. That when you choose to develop and create life together, there's more accountability for one, but there's also the potential for infinitely more fun. And the mindset, like you said earlier on today, is so critically important. Oftentimes, people are trying to make a change because there's something negative in their life that's motivating them to make this change. Well, motivation is great no matter where it comes from. But the mindset that you go into it with, in large part, determines your stick-to-itiveness with the process that you're going to go through while you transform. And I think too many people get a little bit into the process. They find some parts of themselves or shine some light on parts of themselves maybe they haven't seen before. That can invoke a little bit of fear sometimes, or it can, you know, it can be complicated or confusing in some ways. And the more people and the more consistent people that you have in your life that are a part of the fabric, the human mosaic that you create life with, to reflect back and to help you understand that process, A, the more powerful it is for you, B, the more fun it is because you're doing it collectively, and C, the infinitely more likely you are to take the next step, especially like Stacy said, when you might feel a little bit stuck and you need to take a deep breath, or maybe you need to take a step back before you take the next step forward, a step to the side. And having people in your life to reflect that back to you is really important. And so I think that in that mindset, the two words or the two things, and there's many that come out that are critically important, are self-love and self-gratitude, because we're not always going to get it right all the time. And food's such a powerful tool for transformation because we all need to eat. So the choices we make multiple times throughout the day determine who we are and who we want to become. And so if we do that with a consciousness, if we do that with a team effort, if we do that in a collective, and we do that with a goal maybe not just for ourselves, but for the entire planet as well, it provides meaning to what we do instead of being on autopilot and just automatically shoveling some food in because I'm really hungry and I need to get to my next thing that I'm already 15 minutes late for. And ultimately, that's not a sustainable lifestyle. And there are choices that you can make. Those choices need not be difficult, and it can be fun.
Yeah,
And
no, I love that.
Delicious.
You're like, there's a fun factor here, everyone. No, I love that. And you use that word a lot. That's what I enjoy, because sometimes people get so caught up in the stoic part of this, you know, and, like, no offense, but I've owned 4 restaurants across the country, and being in the holistic movement, like the vegans that come in, oh, they make me a little nervous. You know what I'm saying? Because like every day is, so I love that your all's energy going into this is like, no judgment. Like, we're going to have fun. We're going to just do this, you know, but also bringing awareness. So I just have I have a question, and then I'm going to talk about your free offer. But, so have you all ever been in a position where, like, one of y'all made something, or maybe you had a friend come over, or one of your kids, and like you're seeing it before you, or you pick it up, and there's just like this, like and it might even be like a vegan item, but you're just like, something doesn't feel right about this. Like maybe there's a pesticide on it, or whatever, just something isn't feeling right about certain foods. Like, are you like that energetically in alignment? Because I know it's your calling. So as leaders, it's like you have to be kind of up here because you're like leading the leaders. You know what I mean? In this kind, do you find yourself sometimes having that kind of thing happen?
I would say often. You know, one of the great benefits of living in Ecuador is we have, you know, like we're at 9,000 feet, goes all the way down to the coast. So from tropical food to 4-season and snow, we have everything fresh.
Wow, yeah.
And there is a vitality in whole foods and fruits, vegetables that have not been highly processed or sat in a warehouse for 6 months, or, you know, like there is a vitality in whole foods that you don't find in processed foods, or like I said, foods that have been stored or picked when they're unripe. And I don't even know how to tell somebody, you know, to train them to recognize that. But if you go to a store in April and you're looking at apples from Washington State, they're not going to be fresh. Like they are different than the apples that you might get in September. And start to look at food and go, does it glow? Like, does it feel vital? There is something, there is a vitality. And, in Asian medicine, we call it qi. And part of what we eat, it's not just for calories or vitamins or minerals, it is for energy. And being aware of that energetic quality of food is important for our optimal health.
No, that's beautiful. I love it. I love to use the term, does it glow? I love that. I love that because it's like you can feel that. So audience, I know you all are just like blown away like I am at all this content. And I'm just so grateful, right? That Markus and Stacy are able to be here with us today and share out of the abundance of their heart, their overflowing of their knowledge. But not only are they generous enough to be on here today and share this information, but they also have a free giveaway for you. And I'm really excited about this. You all are going to really love it and embrace it. Can you all share a little bit about the free gift that you have for our audience?
Yeah, the Microhabits for High Achievers has 5 strategies to help boost your energy and your focus and vitality throughout the day. And they all take less than 5 minutes to master. So,
and it doesn't matter what path you're on or where you are on that path, they're helpful for everybody.
Yeah.
So if you're in a narrow diet or you're eating across a broad spectrum, wherever you might be, these habits can help.
And they're about energy and focus. We don't even go into food in them. They're more lifestyle medicine. So anybody can use them anywhere. If you're in a corporate job and you have a 3-minute break, you can use one of these to come back to your work and bring more of yourself to it, bring more of your A game. So these are extracted directly from our Burn Bright, Not Out program. And that's our big 90-day program where we take people really deep into optimal performance for them. But we took these right out of there. These are 5 of the favorite micro habits that our clients have mentioned. And so we put them all together and we're giving them away to you.
We like to think of them as 3-minute miracles.
Oh, yes. I love that. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. You all, I cannot thank you all enough for being here and really just sharing from your heart, just your family, your lifestyle, the love between the two of you gives a lot of my single world, inspiration and excitement to know that other person is out there. And also to just sharing with the world all of your information and just walking in your calling and moving to Ecuador and having this type of lifestyle and showing other people that yes, they can do it, that we don't have to get caught up in our fears or just, the Western world, the modern society, but to quiet our minds and really come into alignment, not only what we eat, but bringing it into an entire lifestyle where it's something our entire family, and like Markus talked about, the entire world, like what we're doing globally and energetically is just so, so powerful. So I cannot thank you all enough for being here. Audience, I will have all of the content underneath so that you all can get in touch with Markus and Stacy and all that they do. And if you have any questions or concerns, please go ahead and contact us. Know that you are not alone on your journey at all. We are all here for you, wrapping our arms around you and letting you know that yes, you can do this and you can silence all of the voices around you that are not serving you to your highest potential. All right. We love you all so much. Thank you again. And I'm excited to see you all this summer since you'll be in my area.
It'll
We
be
can all
great.
hug and
In
eat
August, here we
vegan
come. It's been a blessing to create life with you. We celebrate the path that you're on as well, and wish you continued wild success, because your success is all of our success as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You all are amazing.